Good morning, everybody. Did we make it through the weekend? I guess so, except Wolfcat. Wolfcat says taking a break from true crime, Wolfcat is. How do we get Wolfcat back? I don't know. We'll have to figure out some sweet talking somewhere. Let's see who's in here. As promised, we have a very special guest backstage. Let's see. Uli, good morning. Sonia, good morning, my friend. Drinking your coffee this morning that you sent me, by the way. It is wonderful. I'm going to be sad when it's gone. Gaelic girl, hello. I'm not buying it. You're not going to buy this either. You're going to be super mad. You're not going to be happy. There's preschool granny. Juicy tequila Bobo. She said had to pop out and hit that like button. Don't forget that like button, because sometimes I feel like YouTube doesn't like us. Hello, Shirley. Let's see. Hi, Avi. What's going on? I don't remember. Did I see you in Discord this weekend? I just happened to catch that it was Connie's birthday. I was kind of slow to the punch this weekend. Had a lot of stuff going on lately, if you know what I mean. Lauren's in the house. Hello, Lauren. Just Me is here. Let's see. Hello, Magoo. Nene, what's up, Nene? Linda. Bonnie, Mayor, Mary, Shirley. Bridget said present. All right. Hello, Days. What's up? Blackwing Paranormal. Tamara, everybody doing okay? Let everybody get their notifications and start piling in. So we've been covering the case of Mikayla Jones for well over a year. And it is absolutely insane the way that a local department, her mother will have to tell you more about it, she's backstage, tried to sell a murder to the family of Mikayla Jones as an overdose. And they weren't having it. They had a second autopsy done, their own investigation. And it's basically like we were talking about the Kylie Rodney case. I think the very first show I did about Kylie, I said, I'm getting Mikayla Jones vibes here. Something happened at a party. Something happened at this party. Well, something happened at the party we're about to talk about, because Mikayla is no longer with us. But the story continues because the authorities still will not charge with murder. They still will not. And the writing's on the wall, my friends. The writing is on the wall. You're not going to believe it. And just going to disclaim this right now. I back the blue. I do. Not the bad ones. Not the ones that won't admit they were wrong. Not the ones that, want to lean back on we're understaffed. We don't have any money. Piss on that. Then you find help. Piss on that. There's other agencies that will help you if you call them in. We spoke about that. I've been really beating that dead horse in the Summer Wells case, as you know. But there's other issues in Missouri, okay? I apologize in advance if you live in Missouri. It's a great state. I love it. Beautiful state. We actually considered moving there. But there is something going on Because one screw up is one thing. And you can't even call it a screw up because it's beyond tragic. Hang on, make sure this isn't Stacy. What is this? Okay. That's not Stacy. Stacy's backstage, just making sure nothing's wrong. But there's other issues in the state with crime. Okay, there's crime in every state, but sloppy ass police work and refusing to do the due diligence that needs to be done. If you guys have heard of the case of Betsy Faria, Pam Hupp was the murderer, yet they had her husband sitting in jail. Now, I know he failed a polygraph. That's the reason I don't give a shit about polygraphs, because innocent people will blow them and guilty people will pass them. It's the weirdest thing. And sometimes they're right on the money. That's why I don't get into them. All right, so you've heard about the case of Pam Hupp. That's still going on, by the way. That's still going on. There was a murderer on the loose. That's still going on. Mark Fullerton, gone, disappeared. 2020. They're not pursuing it. The family has had to put their own money and resources into things that are at their disposal, like cadaver dogs, investigations. It's insane. Tim Dees is a recent case. Echo Lloyd. There's something in the water in certain departments there, and it happens in every state. It just seems like when it's cases like this, I keep hearing Missouri. What the hell is going on? Let's give a very warm welcome. Oh, Dazed. Thank you. That needs to be permanently put up here, Dazed. Exactly. Live chat reminder. Live chat reminder. Never know what's going to happen on the Crime Lines and Lies channel. You just never know. Never know who's going to pop in. We've learned that. You just never know. So a warm welcome to a very good friend of mine now. We actually met through this case. Stacy Jones, Mikayla's mother. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Brooks. Good morning, everyone.
How was your weekend, sister?
It was okay, I guess. Better than last weekend.
Uh-huh. We're going to get to that, definitely. Everybody's telling you hi right now. Yep, take a minute, guys, to hit that like button. And also, I don't do the whole, of course, I'll remind you guys to sub, like. I'm just not in the habit of doing all that stuff. Guys, this case is so important. It's not only important to Stacy for obvious reasons. It's very important to me. This other creators need to be talking about this case. This needs to be shared in your crime groups. This is so important. This is just, it's got to be covered more. There's just too many dead ends. And I think we're all going to walk away. We always say agree to disagree. I think we're all going to agree that something more needs to be charged in this case. So we're going to go back to the day of the party. Let's talk about Mikayla and what was going on that day.
Well, there wasn't anything out of the ordinary. She was hanging out with her friend Austin Shaw, and Briley Brackett was blowing her phone up asking her if she wanted to hang out.
Can you speak up just a little bit? It might be on my end.
No, it's probably mine.
No, I got to turn my stuff up too. Okay, I'm sorry. So it's a regular day. There's nothing going on, no conflict, nothing like that. And
nothing like that. She was with Austin Shaw. They went and hung out. They went to McDonald's, got some food. Briley Brackett was blowing Mikayla's phone up, which she has never hung out with that girl before. They knew each other through mutual friends.
So Briley, who is not a close friend of Mikayla's at all, but it turns out later she's got a deep jealousy for her. Okay.
Correct.
Briley is, don't get me going on Briley. So Briley, you go ahead. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure everybody understands that Briley is a problem here. Briley is a girl that was at the party as well.
Well, it was just her boyfriend, Andrew Pierce, and Mikayla. So she didn't know any of those people except for Briley, and she only knew Briley through mutual friends. And Austin said that she was blowing her phone up trying to get her to hang out. Mikayla did end up hanging out with her, and she took her to the house in Belgrade, and she never left. Do you have any clips from the
yes, I'm going to play a clip right now. I didn't want to cut you off. We're going to go to a clip where I don't want Stacy to have to keep talking about this too much. Obviously, Stacy realized she couldn't get a hold of Mikayla. And
on the 5th, I was alarmed.
And of course, a search ensues.
Mikayla, well, I contacted Briley, and she told me lie after lie after lie. Her dad's the one that finally gave me the address where they were at on May 7th at like 5:30 in the morning. I went there as quick as I could. It was probably about 8 because Belgrade's not real close to here. Knocked on the door, and Pierce and Civvy both came outside, looked me right in my eyes, and told me that she had been there. They had just met her, and she left, and they didn't see who she left with.
Why don't the cops find that suspicious that Briley, who invited her to the party, that Mikayla didn't even really know, just was like, okay, fine, I'll hang out type of thing, was lying so bad, and that the two scumbags, obviously we know why they lied. Why did they not find that odd?
I don't know. I went straight to the police station when I left there because I knew they were lying, but they told them the same story. She left, and they didn't see who she left with. And then the whole Texas and stripper story started. Which she never planned on doing. They made all of that up. Are you there, Brooks?
No, I was loading a clip and I muted myself. It seems like Briley did set her up. Just my opinion. I'm not accusing Briley of anything except for just really being a terrible, terrible person. Let me play one of the first clips because we have a lot of new people in here not familiar with the case. And if you guys want to go back, watch the other shows that we've done regarding Mikayla, you're just not going to believe it. You're just not going to believe it.
A tragic ending to the case of a missing Farmington woman who was last seen May the 3rd. Her body was discovered Thursday in nearby Washington County. Fox 2's Rocky Madden is live in Farmington. He's been talking to the sheriff, who says there are at least 3 suspects. Rocky?
Yeah, that's right, Sandy. And the sheriff says those 3, 2 men and a woman, were the last to see Mikayla Jones alive. He's angry about what happened, and he wants the 3 charged as soon as possible.
Okay, that's all well and good. Okay, so on the outside, it looks like he means business, correct? I don't like how from the beginning they protected their identities. You can go ahead and say who they are, Stacy.
Andrew Pierce, Ethan Civey, and Briley Brackett. I don't like how they said it was a suspected overdose when they had no autopsy or toxicology.
Didn't even wait to get the toxicology back.
Nope.
They couldn't have, because spoiler alert to everyone in chat, Stacy Jones, who's on panel, Mikayla's mama, paid for her own autopsy. She had a second one done. Did you never had a GoFundMe or anything like that, did you?
No, I did have, there was a GoFundMe.
Okay. Because some people were asking me because they want to, if it's still open, we can throw some money in there because you still have more in front of you. All right. So you have the second autopsy done. We'll get to that in a second. No one's going to believe this.
Well, we're all pretty tore up, you know. We just have to trust God to bring us through it.
The grandfather of Mikayla Jones mourns her death. Her body was found near Highway M in a wooded area like this, about 30 feet off the side of the road.
We believe there was an overdose and that they improperly disposed of her body.
How can they believe it's an overdose without getting anything back?
That was the day after baby girl was found. So the only thing that would have led them to believe that it was an overdose, with her not having any drug history of any kind, would be the word of the people who murdered her.
Mm-hmm. They took their word. And before we get to it, I know I'm jumping ahead. They disposed of her body. The cell phone was cut off because they torched it.
Smashed it and threw it in Big River.
Mm-hmm.
Why go to those lengths? These individuals have also called 911 for people who have overdosed at their house. They know full well about the Good Samaritan law.
They know good well about this Good Samaritan law. You know why? Because they've used it before, guys. Everybody in chat, they've used it before.
Andrew Pierce's girlfriend overdosed 5 weeks before. Called 911 for her. That would be Desiree Links.
At this point, there is no cause of death. They are awaiting toxicology.
Okay, so right there, the news reporter says at this point, there is no cause of death, but the sheriff, who basically is only taken a biology class in high school, is like, he's going off of what the scumbags said, the ones that disposed of her body, and the very jealous friend that got her to the party. We believe it's an overdose.
I mean, they would be the ones that would have a good reason for them to think that. So yeah, why would they take their word for it? Obviously, if you murder someone, you don't
Why dispose of someone's body if they overdose? Because they've never done it before. They're frequent flyers to the drug stuff. Okay, not Mikayla, but these people that she's never met before. These are some basically creepy dudes. Is basically that's
grown men and predators. Correct.
Grown men and predators that had no business hanging around kids. Period. Before I get to the clip, let me show them real quick. Kind of give people an idea. This is what we're dealing with here. Stacey, don't look. This is what disposed of Mikayla's body. Torched her phone. Why would you need to torch a phone if she OD'd?
You don't have to tell me not to look. I see them every month in person.
I'm not a detective. Never been through the police academy. Nothing like that. No. But I would I have a very bad taste in my mouth that the ones that are supposed to be getting justice for Mikayla never asked that question. Well, why would you torch her phone if she just OD'd? Why are you lying to us if she just OD'd? Why?
Why did Sibby change his story 7 times?
7 times. We're going to do a separate show and we're going to go through the trooper's report. If you think this blows your mind, and a lot of you are brand new to this case, this is a small taste of it, believe it or not.
There's so much.
Uh-huh. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm.
There is no cause of death. They are awaiting toxicology results. The sheriff says that the 2 men and 1 woman who were allegedly with Mikayla, and if they followed a fairly new law, the Good Samaritan law, things would be much different now. Mikayla may still be alive, and the 3 would not be undergoing an interrogation by detectives.
These people could have called 911, done the humane thing, and got her help. And if it was beyond help, that the family would have had immediate closure. But they didn't. They didn't call 911. They didn't call anybody. They act like cowards, and they dumped her body on the side of the road.
He says a call to 911 would have kept anyone with Mikayla out of trouble.
If they would have just called help, they would have just called for help, they'd probably be fine right now.
Instead,
Okay, he seems all fired up, and I mean, I guess he is. If they would have just called for help, if they just would have called 911. But the question we're not asking, Mr. Law Enforcement, is why didn't you? They had already used the Good Samaritan law before. They knew they wouldn't be in trouble. They knew that.
instead of being in the clear, the sheriff wants to file charges against the 3.
The abandonment of a corpse, tamper with physical evidence would be her body and her cell phone. And we're also looking for hindering prosecution because they lied.
I want justice to be done, you know, to find out what happened, and they need to be punished for evil, you know.
It's easy to come to work every day. It's not easy to tell a mom or a dad that their loved one's not coming home because of a dumb decision by stupid people when laws were written to protect the same people.
And the sheriff says if he discovers that others are involved, he will plan to file charges against them as well. Reporting live here in Farmington, I'm Rocky Madden.
Not asking the right questions, trying to get it off the desk is kind of what it seems like. But he came across the wrong mama, because what did you say when they said she overdosed?
Well, there's a news clip of that too, but I said no, she didn't. No, my daughter was not on drugs. And even if she did try it one time at a party and, you know, it was laced or whatever, it's just not what the evidence has shown. And like I've said 100 times before, I wouldn't miss her any more or less if that was the case, but it's just not.
No, and if that was the case, you weren't trying to be, that mom in denial. You were saying, no. Why are you rushing to such a judgment here? You haven't even investigated it.
And the evidence that I received personally, none of it points to overdose. None of it. I had Briley contact me probably about 4 months ago saying that she wanted to wear a wire and talk to Pierce, which she never followed through with. I don't know if she was there when they killed her or not, because her story doesn't match with her aunt's story, who supposedly picked her up at 3 a.m. They can't even get the time that she picked her up right.
And when someone has to suddenly leave the get-together, party, whatever you want to call it, there's a problem. Why was Briley suddenly so uncomfortable when the whole hangout was her idea? Why was she trying to get a hold of someone to come get her?
And Sibby was her boyfriend for however long before.
Yep. So now we get to you're not having it. This
Never.
is not what happened. This is not how this went down. Nothing makes sense because they disposed of her body. They torched the phone. I don't know if you knew that at that time. And so now we come to you want your own autopsy. How did that come about?
Well, Dr. Dideker told me that Sivvy went around town saying that he shot my baby in the face. I asked Dr. Russell Dideker if there was any gunshot wounds or anything. He said his exact words were there were no visible signs of trauma. Okay. Then he proceeds to tell me that he don't have a dog in this fight and that I didn't need a second autopsy. Red flag.
And he's the coroner, correct?
He's the state medical examiner for 26 counties here.
He's the state medical examiner that says you don't need a second autopsy.
We see nothing wrong with her body. So I decided to have a second autopsy, and I don't know about you, but I call hematomas to our bilateral lower extremities trauma and a fractured skull trauma.
I'm going to put that clip up real quick, and then we're going to talk about where we're at now with the case against the scumbags. By the way, Briley has faced no charges.
None. And
Safe.
I asked the special, really super special prosecutor last Friday about that, because I said, I know that you could at least charge her with hindering prosecution because I know how many times she lied. No, they're not interested in pursuing anything against Brackett.
We have some questions in chat before we get to the clip. Kim said, but did the ME rule her death as an OD? Stacy?
No.
No.
Took him 9 months to sign it, which the coroner told me in his 20-year career, he's never seen it take 9 months. So after Dr. Jane Turner's was released, his was actually amended, Dideker's, and now it reads undetermined.
Undetermined. Her cause of death is now undetermined. Why, with the second autopsy, he did not put homicide, I will never know.
Dr. Jane Turner's does say possible homicide because of the condition of her remains. But toxicology doesn't support an overdose.
But yet that's what they wanted you to go along with.
That's what was on the first one before it was amended. Methamphetamine intoxication. Because he didn't plan on anybody else ever seeing my baby's body.
He picked the wrong one. He went to work the wrong day that day. So you guys pay attention to this clip, because when you hear what the second autopsy reveals, it's going to blow you away. There's
3 months after a young woman was found dead in Potosi, Missouri, her family continues to make their voices heard.
Loved ones of 18-year-old Mikayla Jones are protesting the investigation by the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Fox 2's Stephanie Rothman is live at that protest in Potosi tonight. Stephanie.
Family and friends of Mikayla Jones have been protesting here at the sheriff's office all day. Now they're lighting candles for a vigil. As you can see, they're all really shook up. This is their third protest. Their passion for justice now amplified by a new autopsy, something they felt they needed to do themselves as animosity grows between them and law enforcement.
Justice! She was an 18-year-old girl with her whole life ahead of her and hundreds of people who loved her. She's the sweetest girl.
The Washington County autopsy found drugs in her system, indicating that her death was caused by an overdose. Her mother strongly denies it.
I told them on day one that my daughter didn't overdose. I knew that wasn't right. And I won't stop until the right people are behind bars.
Jones says the second autopsy the family commissioned proves otherwise. She says the forensic pathologist that conducted the new autopsy found no lethal dose of drugs in her system. What they did find were multiple contusions and a fractured skull. Mikayla's body was found heavily decomposed off Highway M near Potosi. 2 men were charged with abandoning a corpse and tampering with evidence.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. No lethal doses. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes.
Okay. No lethal doses, fractured skull, and they're charged with tampering with a corpse.
Mind-blowing.
Muffin Top says no drugs. How did the ME then state overdose? You came to the right place because we don't know.
Because it's easier.
How did the state medical examiner miss a fractured skull?
Same medical examiner has watched a lot of murders in this area.
Mama Bear, how did she meet these people? Through Briley. Through Briley Brackett. I'm sorry, go ahead, Stace.
I forgot what I was going to say. You're doing good.
What they did find were multiple contusions and a fractured skull. Mikayla's body was found heavily decomposed off Highway M near Potosi. 2 men were charged with abandoning a corpse and tampering with evidence.
They not only dumped her like trash on the side of the road, they torched her phone, smashed it, and threw it in Big River.
But the sheriff says no evidence has pointed to a murder so far.
It's not that we don't want to seek justice in this case. We have submitted the reports to the prosecuting attorney, and he has filed the charges that are available to fit the crimes that we know, if can prove, were committed.
Jones accuses the sheriff's office of turning away help from the FBI and makes allegations of corruption within the office.
People can look at my record, and you can prove by my record that we don't cover things up.
Sheriff Jacobson, however, says the sheriff's office welcomed the FBI's help, but he says there was no federal crime to investigate. But the Jones family still wants answers and asks anyone that knows something to come forward.
Anyone who harmed my daughter is going to pay.
Checking convictions said, wow, no evidence? What do you mean no evidence? A fractured skull? And he's on the phone talking to the reporter. Well, we gave all this to the prosecuting attorney, he says. So what charges are available? Okay, fine. So what you have them dead to nuts on, we can live with that. Why don't you say, but we have to investigate the murder? So now we speed up to, well, we're in August of 2022, guys. This happened over a year ago. This is how long, this has been going on a long time. You go to court, it seems like once a week. I swear to God, there's always something going on. You even go ahead.
It's usually once a month. But this last one was the worst by far.
They offered them a plea deal, guys. And Stacy will have to tell you about it.
They offered them both 8 years. And they were both supposed to accept it. the morning of court last Friday, Pierce decided he's going to go in front of a jury. He turned down the plea.
He turned down
And
the plea.
mm-hmm.
Then how did she get there? How did she get to where she was found? How
Right.
can he go in front of a jury?
Right. I mean, Civi's going to testify against him. And there were messages between Civi and Pierce on the 5th and the 6th that were deleted, that Washington County said that they didn't have the resources to retrieve those messages. I think everybody knows that messages don't really go anywhere. They can be retrieved. So they did retrieve them, and those will be used as evidence too, for Pierce's trial, which isn't set yet. His next court date's September 20th, and that's for a counsel status, because they're giving him time to get a new attorney, because the one he had is not going any further. Since he didn't take the plea, she's not going to trial with him.
They said the exact same thing in Mark Fullerton's case. They said they don't have the resources available to retrieve the data from the multiple cell phones.
Right.
We know that is not the case.
No, they have been retrieved now. Civi did take the plea bargain, the 8 years, and he's going to testify against Pierce and whatever, but these still aren't the right charges. So. But his next court date is October 21st, and that's for sentencing.
So he's going to testify against his buddy. All right, good. That's one positive. If you can find a positive in this, I can't find any, but I'm trying to. So he's going to testify against Pierce, who didn't take the plea deal. Sorry, I'm getting all twisted around. Okay, that's all fine and good. Whatever. 8 years for tampering with a body.
Abandoning the body and tampering with her personal belongings. And hindering the investigation by lying.
So 8 years, are they going to spend the whole 8 years? Or is there a chance of parole in that 8 years? Because 8 years, I understand what the charge is. It's not a murder charge, so it's not 8 years for murder. Or are they going to put them in there and then start working on the murder charges and then slap that on and have a separate trial? As of right now, they're not even entertaining that with you.
No. They're not. And as far as will they actually serve 8 years, I mean, we all know that there's a chance of parole. Will I be at every parole hearing? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you will.
As long as I'm breathing.
They should be charged with murder. One of them at least. One at least. Why is it not being investigated? That's the question.
Well, and they gave them 30 and 60 more days to live their life and do whatever they want. Are they even going to show up at court? Is Civi even going to show up knowing that he's going to be sentenced on that day? They don't even have a GPS on him.
I missed that. They don't even have ankle monitors on them after what they've done?
Never did. And I asked at the very first court date, why? They said because those don't work.
Because they don't work.
Mm-hmm.
Ankle monitors don't work.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in jail, by the way, guys.
According
These guys are not in jail.
They never served 1 second in jail. They walked in with a bondsman and walked back out for $5,000.
And when they say this isn't a case for the FBI, we're not saying anything happened across state lines.
Or federal, but there were still people that worked for the FBI agents that were willing and had the resources to properly investigate on board. Sheriff Jacobson turned them away.
Turned them away. Yet he's on the phone because a reporter got his fat ass on the phone. And so he's saying, if we could, but we gave everything we have to the prosecuting attorney. You tell me what jury is going to sit there. And I understand that it only takes one. It only takes one to doubt what's in front of them. I get it. I get it. But you've had all this time. You can shake the shit out of Briley. Briley was there. Briley can tell you what happened, unless there's something Briley's afraid of getting in trouble for. There's a lot going on, and they're not pursuing it.
I have a statement from someone who can put Pierce in a town 30 minutes away from where he says he woke up and found my daughter. A written statement and a man willing to testify that he was in a town 30 miles away acting super weird.
Now, is there a chance when he goes in front of the jury, the buddy testifies against him, he doesn't get the 8 years? What would the maximum be for tampering with a body?
I'm not sure.
Because if he's not going to take the plea deal for 8 years and he's going to, waste the taxpayers' dollars going in front of a jury, I wouldn't think they'd say, oh, okay, well, you get the same as him that took the plea.
No. I think it carries a 16-year sentence.
16. Okay. Still not enough. Still not enough. So let's talk.
The judge did tell him there will be no more, you turned it down. There will be no more offers. So obviously he's going to lose. And I do pray that she gives him the max, which I think is 16 years.
Is there any chance that the prosecutor with them on the stand could ask more specific questions that could come out in court in front of the jury that could lead to a murder charge, or are they just not going to do it?
I don't know, Brooks.
Because if they're really wanting justice, you've got him in the box.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he don't have to testify, I don't guess. Well, Sivvy does. That's who you mean. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I need to be more specific. I mean, you've got him in the box.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want perjury, too. He already said he's going to speak about this. He's going to testify against him.
Right. I don't know. I don't know what they'll do. They've done a whole lot of nothing so far.
Except make your life hell. Kim says, and where did the Briley girl go? She just walked away and goes about her life. She was screwing with Stacy one day.
More than one.
Mm-hmm.
Their drug charges carry a higher sentence than what they can prove they did to my daughter. Because when they were arrested for abandoning her corpse and tampering with physical evidence, they were both found with drugs on them. Thank you, Tressie. Tressie Pierce is Andrew Pierce's sister, who has been a great support.
God bless her.
In fact, their father told Tressie that Andrew confessed. Not that he killed her, but that someone did. But now Tom Pierce passed away on September of 21, and it's a third-party confession, which is not admissible. Under very suspicious circumstances, by the way. Andrew Pierce found his dad.
Checking Convictions says, so much respect for you, Mama. Stay strong. You are your daughter's voice, and I know you will give her peace and justice. A
do
lot of
everything in my
questions.
power.
Go ahead, babe.
I just said I would do everything in my power.
Well, you've got a lot of power because you're getting stuff done, and they weren't suspecting you, for one, to not give up, but the second autopsy, for the first examiner to say, never had to do this before.
Well, he never met Mikayla.
Now, let's talk about the phone for a minute. A lot of people have questions about the phone.
Okay. What's the question?
Well, obviously, you couldn't get a hold of Mikayla for obvious reasons, but the phone.
It was retrieved on May 27th.
On May 27th, a lot had been done to this phone so that it would not work.
Correct.
It could not be pinged. There was nothing through Google or anything. They do know that much information, guys. They do know that. They do know that the phone went off grid. Torched it, didn't they beat it with a hammer?
They smashed it with something and threw it in Big River. But I did contact the iPhone doctor. That's where they had it rescreened. And then he did say that there was water in it, because I didn't believe that a phone being submerged for 2 weeks would ever come back on. So I contacted him, and he did say that it did have water in it.
Had water in the phone, smashed with something, and it was torched. That's a lot of
I'd like to know what kind of torch, though, because I don't see how it would be in condition to just slap a new screen in it.
That's pretty suspect to me too.
And then they took it to a highway patrol agent's house and downloaded it to his computer. Sounds real official. They trimmed her nails according to the second autopsy, and they were never even sent for DNA or anything. In fact, Whitaker's report don't even mention trimming them.
Why would he not have trimmed her nails?
He did. He did. They were trimmed, according to Dr. Turner. He just didn't list doing it, and they were never sent anywhere for DNA or anything.
Because she could have had defensive, not marks.
My daughter fought like hell. I promise you that.
Barbara Hall says, I was told you don't have to have the phone to get the information off it. No, you don't. You don't. Isn't that the craziest thing? You don't have to physically have the phone. We cover many cases on here. Many. We read arrest affidavits where they show obtained warrant for cellular data on, it'll have the serial number listed, came back on this date. Then they go through what they had to do. A lot of guilty people don't say, here's my phone if you want to check it out.
Right. They can subpoena Snapchat. They can subpoena all the different platforms, yes.
And they posted stuff, they said accidentally, off her phone.
Now, when you say they, let's be more specific. Detective Stephen Ryan, who had her phone in his desk drawer, not locked in an evidence room, only powered it back on the day that I told him he wasn't doing a good job.
And what was done about that? Because that is horrific that he did that.
Absolutely nothing. He still works for Washington County.
None of this is protocol, guys. None of this adds up. Amanda says, sorry to repeat, did they determine who supplied the drugs?
No, they didn't. I don't guess even try. They're both known fentanyl dealers in the area, Pierce and City. If you read Highway Patrol's report, my daughter brought the drugs to the drug dealer's house, according to Civvy. Which he also says that they were taking Xanax and she had no benzodiazepines in her system whatsoever.
I think the second autopsy really sums it up. There's no overdose, but she has a fractured skull.
Have we ever talked about the Joe Faye's video that was sent to Mikayla's Justice page?
No. Go ahead.
6 months after, someone made a fake Facebook profile with the name Joe Faye's, no picture. It's clearly just an account that they made just for this, and they sent me a video of my daughter making a public service announcement that nobody forced her, and then she uses her fingers and says, forced me to do anything, or to do, then you can hear a female in the background saying, don't say it. And this person, whoever it is, told me that I should be grieving like a normal parent and just accept that my daughter overdosed and that I'm just trying to get money off of her death. And that's ludicrous.
That is so ridiculous. That billboard was extremely expensive. Autopsies aren't a copay, okay? Second autopsy is a lot of money.
There was more than one billboard. I promise you that I have profited nothing. And I do have a civil case against Civvy and Pierce. That's on September 19th at 9 o'clock. And I only brought that because I was told that they would be made to testify and whatever was brought to light could be used in criminal proceedings. If I get one dime, I actually told the attorney he could have 100%. He said no, he was only taking a third. That will be going to some sort of charity or foundation or something. I do not want a dime from losing the most precious girl.
Exactly. Start a foundation. But I love that you're doing the civil suit because, like they said, when they're talking to them, when they're discussing, questioning, however you want to put it, they can say something that the DA then can use for murder charges.
That's the hope.
And in all honesty, the way this has gone, we could still be talking about this in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
She's not getting any help. Some of these people are just damn rude to her.
95%.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't have even found her if it hadn't been for us. Law enforcement did not help us find her. We might be sitting here talking about her still missing if it wasn't for there was a lot of support from the community. Law enforcement wasn't interested at all. They were fully prepared to just chalk it up to a 18-year-old girl who, I mean, technically can come and go as she pleases and didn't want to be contacted. Which,
And how did a doctor miss her injuries? Injuries to her skull. Why did they jump the gun and say overdose? Say it on the news, because I think that's part of it. I think part of it is a small part. Okay, I'm not writing it off that easily. On the news, just jump the gun to overdose based on the testimony. I say testimony, even though they had changed their stories many times. Briley, too. You don't trust any of these people. There's not a good one of them of the bunch.
no.
Take their word that this is an overdose. You don't investigate it any further. You don't even realize, or you didn't look. I don't know. A fractured skull. The second autopsy comes out, and you still don't investigate.
Because they don't want to admit that they were wrong.
And you've received some online hate. I mean, you've had people come out of the woodwork just to harass you.
Oh, yeah. Pierce's stepdad, I think, was probably the first one that started that. Oh, he was offering his condolences first.
And then you have people that couldn't even find Missouri on a map that have had things to say to you, and you're just brushing that stuff off and trekking forward saying, no, somebody murdered my daughter, and I'm not gonna stop until that person pays.
Yes, ma'am.
Holly said Detective Ryan was smoking a cigar as we were looking for Mikayla on Civi's property.
He came there to make sure that we didn't go into the home, the actual home where she was murdered. We had permission to search around it. He was there to protect them. Smoking a cigar in his penny loafers while I'm wading through ponds and looking in fields. Mm-hmm.
There to make sure it just stays an overdose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
hell I will.
Stupid. You heard what she said, guys. She said, like hell I will. This is ridiculous. Manda, you're right. This is not our first show. This is not our first show about Mikayla. I first came across the Facebook page, I think in June of 2021, and I thought, what the hell am I reading? How can any of this? How can any of this be going on? And I'm just a state over. I'm in Oklahoma. I'm like, how could this be going on? Because if it can happen in that town, it can happen in your town.
And it can happen to your daughter, so.
It can happen to your child. It can happen to your sister, your brother, the friend that you consider a sister or brother. This is real stuff. This is really going on and happening to this family. It's inexcusable. It's inexcusable. So I know you guys, you watch other shows, in contact with other creators, you're in other crime groups. Be careful what crime group you put it in. If it's one specifically for one victim, don't insult them by saying, hey, we got to do something here too, unless the admin's cool with it. But we have to get more people talking about this, because you can't have a second autopsy with a fractured skull, them actually in some circles admitting to what they've done. You have Briley saying that she'll wear a wire. For what, Briley? For what, Briley? What are you going to wear a wire for? Then back away. You can't have a second autopsy. I'm going to keep talking about that and talking about that. So let's do what we can. We're not going to harass anybody. We're not going to call the police. You can email the news station, the local news station, because let's face it, they between them and Dateline, they uncovered the whole Pam Hupp corruption. They got all of that done. So wherever you can share this, please do. I would like to say it's as easy as just saying vote them out, but we don't have time. They're there to do their jobs. They're getting paid for those jobs as we speak. So it's time they do them. We need murder charges. The only light I see at the end of the tunnel as of right now, as of today, is when we go to the civil case and something comes out that they can use and charge them criminally. I don't really have, there's always hope. Okay, I'll put it that way. I'm taking back what I was about to say. There's always hope.
Yes, ma'am.
Mikayla deserves it. Her family deserves it. And these two, 8 years is a vacation. 8 years for tampering with a body. We need murder charges. Purple Passion says, I need my blood pressure medicine. It is maddening. It is maddening. It is. But we have to hone that a different way. We're not disruptors here. We don't do anything that's going to get anyone in trouble. We all know how to use the internet. And we can just share this in our crime groups, send emails to local news in that area. What's going on with this? Nothing wrong with asking.
The only reporter was at the court last Friday was the local Daily Journal, and he did write a decent article this time. Who do you think's going to copyright strike us this time, Brooks?
We get a copyright strike every time, or we get some kind of problem. Well, it's always one of the mamas, and I don't mean you. Think about that. Think about that. Think about that. Well, my friend, you're not just my friend, but you are definitely a hero to me, because I know you're not going to stop. And we're not going to stop with you. We're going to keep continuing to talk about Mikayla. And
I appreciate it. Mikayla's life matters so much.
Okay, yeah. Absolutely. Holly said, no, we won't stop fighting. We won't.
Ever.
Slim has a question. When is the sheriff up for re-election?
2024.
2024. The DA I have a big problem with, though. People always say, sheriff, 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 sheriff. I get it. Trust me, I get it. It's very, very easy. But we always forget about the DA. What the hell is the DA doing that will not look at this autopsy, go to said sheriff, say, get one of your detectives, and I want to find out what really happened that night?
Actually, the prosecuting attorney in Washington County, which is where it started, he recused himself because of animosity between him and I. He was just voted out. There is a new prosecutor in Washington County, John Jones. And then in St. Francis County, which is where it went next, she sat on the case for 5 months, passing it from month to month to month before she decided that she had to recuse herself too because of conflict of interest. She has just been voted out as well.
We have a trend.
Mm-hmm.
We have a trend, so we can't be the only people pissed off in that county now, can we?
Mm-hmm.
I don't live there, by the way.
And now we're to the Attorney General, the special prosecutors. Very, very, very special.
Well, I appreciate you coming on here and telling your story, Mikayla's story.
I will talk about Mikayla to anyone who will listen.
I know you will, and we'll be here to listen. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep Mikayla's name out there. It's got to get more traction, though. It's got to. If you guys can share it to the Cold Case Foundation with Chris McDonough was guiding you. Chris, it would be a great thing if Chris McDonough on the interview room would have Stacy on and talk about Mikayla. There's many creators. Now, some of the creators people talk about, some of the really, really big ones, they normally only cover cases that are solved and done. You can't get in trouble that way because there's no speculation or undue accusations. All right. And that's fine. They do it well. But as far as something that's not solved, you know, a lot of people don't touch that, but that's all right. We do that. We do that here. We do enough here. But like I said, the interview room, they talk about ongoing cases.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try to see if we can find other creators. Not that I'm going to stop. Don't think I'm hanging up my hat, guys. You know better than that. We need to find some other creators as well and really get it going.
Kathy from Cold Case Foundation has, she's still trying to get Chris McDonough to actually cover it, but all she can do is submit.
So that's definitely a step.
Mm-hmm.
Not a big step. It's not going to solve everything, but you know, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Let's just look at it that way for now.
Yeah. And I appreciate you, Brooks, and everyone else who's.
We're here for you, girlfriend. I'm going to start shutting this down, and you just let me know if you need anything that comes up anytime. You know the living room's always open to you, if you know what I mean.
Yes, ma'am. I love you and appreciate you.
Love you, Stacy. Everybody, let's give Stacy our love. She's heading out right now. Light it up so Stacy can see justice for Mikayla. I know that the creators that are in here right now will definitely put it on their community tab, do a video, a live, however, everybody uses a different format. I only do lives. I'm not that talented, so I don't do videos. But anyway, you guys are awesome. As always, best chat and best community on YouTube. That is hands down. That is hands down. I've seen some other chats and they scare the hell out of me. You guys are the best. You are awesome. Going to be back here at 1:30 talking about Kylie Rodney. And anytime, it doesn't even have to be a development in the case that Stacy wants to come on here and talk about Mikayla. We're always open, and we've always got a listening ear for her and do whatever we can to help. So we're going to share this, reach out, get it covered more. Get it covered more. So you guys have a good rest of your morning, and I will see you back here in a few hours. On the way out, don't forget to make sure you're subbed, hit the like button, and come back and see me in a few hours. You guys are the absolute best. Justice for Mikayla. Bye-bye.